The city never truly slept, but at that hour, past midnight, it seemed to hold its breath. The rain whispered against glass towers, turning streets into mirrors. Inside one of those towers, behind the glowing logo of Caldwell Enterprises, a woman sat curled in the corner of her own office, trembling. Her designer suit was soaked, her mascara streaked. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. She was Evelyn Hart, the youngest CEO in the company's history. A woman the media called the Ice Queen, but right now she looked nothing like the headlines. She looked terrified. A faint knock came at the door. She froze. Her eyes darted toward the sound. "Please, don't hurt me," she whispered. The door creaked open. A man stepped in, holding a toolbox in one hand and a mop bucket in the other. His uniform bore the company's janitorial logo. "Ma'am?" he said softly. "It's just me, Tom." Evelyn blinked through tears, recognizing him vaguely. He was one of the night janitors, quiet, always polite. A single dad, she remembered vaguely from an employee story Highlight HR had posted once. Tom Harper. He stood there, hesitant, not wanting to intrude. But when he saw her trembling in the corner, instinct overrode caution. He set down his tools and stepped closer, slowly, as if approaching a wounded bird. "What happened?" he asked gently. Evelyn didn't answer. Her breath came in shallow, broken gasps. I thought someone was here," she said, her voice barely a whisper. The lights went out. Then I heard footsteps. "My father used to—" She cut herself off, pressing a trembling hand to her mouth. Tom didn't move closer. He just knelt beside her, keeping a respectful distance. His voice was steady, grounded. "You're safe now," he said quietly. "There's no one here but me." She shook her head, tears spilling again. "You don't understand. I can't breathe when it's dark. When I hear those sounds, I go back there." Her words broke off, but the meaning was clear. Trauma. The kind that lingers long after the bruises fade. Tom slowly sat down cross-legged on the floor so she wouldn't feel small or cornered. "It's okay," he said again, softer this time. "You don't have to explain. You're not alone, okay?" For a while, the only sound was the rain tapping against the window. Then Evelyn looked at him, really looked at him. His uniform was faded, shoes scuffed. His eyes were tired, but kind. The kind of tired that came from years of holding life together for someone else. "Why are you still here?" she whispered. "You could have just left." Tom smiled faintly. "Because if my daughter were in a corner somewhere, scared like this, I'd want someone to stay with her." Something inside Evelyn broke at that. The Ice Queen melted a little. They stayed like that for a long time, no words, just silence and safety. By morning, the office looked normal again. The sun broke through the storm clouds, painting the skyline gold. Evelyn had composed herself, though her eyes still carried the weight of the night before. Tom quietly gathered his things, ready to disappear as if nothing had happened. But as he turned to leave, Evelyn said, "Tom." He paused. "Thank you," she said simply. "I don't think anyone's ever just stayed before." He gave a humble nod. "Anytime, ma'am." Days turned into weeks. Evelyn found herself watching for him sometimes. Late at night, as she reviewed quarterly reports or stared out at the city lights, Tom would pass by with his mop or cart, always quiet, always steady. Sometimes he'd stop to check if she needed anything, a cup of water, a light fixed, a moment of normalcy. One night she surprised him. "Sit," she said, motioning to a chair. "You've been working all night. I owe you coffee." He chuckled, hesitant. "You don't owe me anything, ma'am." "Maybe not," she said, "but I want to." And so they sat, two people from entirely different worlds, sipping coffee in silence that felt, strangely, comfortable. He told her about his daughter, Lily, how she was 8, loved to draw, and thought her dad was a superhero because he fixed things. Evelyn found herself smiling, really smiling, for the first time in months. "She sounds wonderful," she said softly. "She is," he replied, "and she keeps me going." Evelyn nodded. "And I used to have someone like that too. My mom, she'd tell me to be kind, even when the world wasn't." Her voice trembled. "I forgot that somewhere along the way." Tom looked at her gently. "Maybe it's not too late to remember." The next morning, the company staff found something unusual. The CEO had canceled all meetings. Instead, she spent the day walking through each department, talking to employees she'd never met, asking how they were, really listening. It started small, A few thank yous, a few smiles. But soon people began noticing a change. The Ice Queen had thawed. She created a new initiative, the Second Chance program, to help single parents, janitors, interns, anyone struggling to rebuild their lives. It offered flexible hours, childcare support, and scholarships for employees' families. At the press conference, reporters asked what inspired the program. Evelyn smiled, her eyes searching the back of the room where Tom stood, trying to blend into the crowd. "Someone once reminded me that kindness isn't weakness," she said. "Sometimes it's the bravest thing we can offer." A few months later, Tom found an envelope taped to his locker. Inside was a handwritten note, and so were Lily's art classes. "Thank you for reminding me what humanity looks like. Evelyn." Tucked inside was a scholarship voucher. Fully paid tuition for a local arts academy. Tom stared at it for a long time, then pressed a hand to his chest, fighting back tears. That night, he and Lily walked home beneath the same city lights that once felt cold and distant. Now they seemed to shimmer with possibility. On a rainy evening months later, Tom was leaving work when he saw Evelyn standing outside the building, looking up at the storm. "Hey," he called softly. "You okay?" She turned, smiling through raindrops. "And I am now." The rain fell harder, washing the streets in silver. Evelyn took a deep breath, the kind that comes after years of holding too much in. "Funny," she said. "Since I used to be afraid of nights like this." Tom tilted his head. "And now?" She looked at him, eyes steady. "Now I know I don't have to face them alone." He smiled, and for a moment the world slowed, the city lights, the rain, the sound of distant traffic, all fading into quiet understanding. Sometimes healing doesn't come from grand gestures. It comes from a single act of compassion, a stranger who stays when others leave, a whispered, "You're safe." A moment that changes everything, because in the end, kindness doesn't just heal others. It heals us too.